Um, Hello, my name is Michael Barron, and I'm Managing Director of Barron Consulting, Melbourne-based consultancy firm, and I'm also doing a fair bit of work lecturing MBA and MIT students at a number of universities, mainly Australian universities. And first of all, I would like to thank Radio MITWS for inviting me. And personally, of course, I would like to thank Dr. Karen Pratap Singh, the founding president of the radio, who is doing great work in bringing the scientific and the general communities together. It is fantastic that scholars are able to contribute not only to academic research, not only to some business processes, but also to society at large. And we can share our ideas in order for the ideas to be utilized and tailored to the needs of the community. So today I would like to talk about the work I've been doing with the e-learning protocols. E-learning protocols are now becoming extremely essential for many organizations. Obviously, they're essential for universities because here in Australia, our programs are being moved online due to the pandemics. And of course, in many other countries around the globe, there is the same challenge that we're facing. We're facing the challenge of having to deliver our programs as normally as possible while the world is becoming extremely abnormal. And as well as universities, as well as training providers, many private firms, of course, they still need to do the training. However, it is becoming difficult because you are not able to assemble large audiences at a single venue. So you have to consider doing it online. So I must say that I started with the e-learning before the pandemics. And traditionally, it was fairly straightforward. I just had to go through a number of processes and make sure that those processes are achievable in an online environment. That would involve translating teaching and learning processes into the e-learning format, digitalizing course content and assessments, and of course, making student support and administration services fully available online. That is also essential because it's not just about delivering the content, it's also about the support that we need to provide to the learners. And of course, there are certain principles that had to be followed when undergoing the online transition. First of all, translating the face-to-face processes into the e-learning ones without compromising integrity of the service delivery. Secondly, accessibility, making the online courses and services easy to access and to deliver online. So traditional courses, when moved online, they had to be feasible. The core points that you deliver in the face-to-face environment should not be literally lost in translation when moved online. And of course, last but not least, reliability and technical support. Online environment requires greater technical support. And of course, there are certain standards that have to be followed. Those standards I imported, if you like, from my project management background. First, collecting the key client requirements, then confirming the requirements, followed up by developing and confirming the protocol outlines, designing e-learning protocols, testing the e-learning protocols, and finally, implementing those e-learning protocols, e-learning protocol implementation. And once implementation takes place, the process is complete. I must say that this model worked extremely well for my clients. We didn't have to be very strict about how long it would take us to complete the projects. As long as all the stakeholders were satisfied, we could take as much time as required, and to make sure that all the objectives are achieved, we could of course provide sufficient testing. No online course would go live untested. And then the pandemics happened. Overnight, we had to move our programs online. And there came a brave new world. The brave new world of post-pandemics or pandemics affected, depending on which stage of pandemics we're at, environment. So suddenly all programs have to be delivered exclusively online, not just the ones that are meant to be suitable for online delivery, simply because you cannot assemble people anywhere. You cannot have physical presence of large audiences. Then, this transition that used to take as long as required, transition from face-to-face to online, suddenly had to be completed within 1 to 2 weeks because of the deadlines. For instance, in cases of universities, there are standard semesters that have starting dates and closing dates, and if we want to complete the semester online, if we want to complete it online and on time, we have to complete the transition very, very fast. We have to be efficient in how we get it done. Then, non-discriminative approach to making the assessments available online. Some assessment tasks, some courses, they're not meant to be online courses. Never mind. We had to learn how to deliver those online and how to assess those online. So, for instance, courses like cookery, what to do about online assessments. This is quite a challenge. Do you get people to cook at home and share the pictures? Is it sufficient to assess quality of their cooking? And of course, from the purely practical perspective, many organizations, many colleges, many universities, not just in Australia but worldwide, I guess, they have not been involved in e-learning proactively before the pandemics. And for them, it's a new chapter. They had to learn how to deliver training within the organization in the new environment. And I must say that it's not just a problem for training providers. It's a problem for private firms who used to consider their training sessions as a way to get together the staff and add a big social twist to it. Now there is still a social twist, but has to be online, and the organizations have to make sure that the staff assembles in the virtual classrooms, not in the face-to-face ones. So what to do? This is a rhetoric question, and this is how I've been approaching it. First of all, I started using the agile approach. In other words, ad hoc summary of all the key requirements. Get together with the clients, get together with universities, get together with the colleges, with the companies, ask them to nominate the people responsible, people who are in charge of the training, and then we can make small teams, and within those teams we can establish how to deliver the programs, how to develop the new protocols. Had to be done really fast. So, of course, it was very important to have teams of people who are really on the same wave and teams of people who have expert knowledge within their fields. And then, of course, based on these meetings, we would create and confirm the process maps. Again, using the agile approach, the process maps for all the processes that need to be included. Then, based on those process maps, design, confirm, and speed test the e-learning protocols, followed up by implementation of the e-learning protocols, and after implementation, post-implementation testing and process reengineering would come. So because of the rush that we were in, because of the speed of development, the protocols were implemented first, and then there was post-implementation testing, which is, of course, significantly different from what I'm used to. First complete the testing, and only afterwards make it available for use. So first, we make it available now. The company can implement the e-learning protocols. The courses can start running. And as they run, we keep fine-tuning those. We keep re-engineering them as required. And before I hail our success, I would like to honestly admit some of the challenges that we've been facing, very severe challenges. First of all, there are difficulties in implementing a fully agile approach. It's hard to get all of the relevant stakeholders involved on a short notice. As I mentioned before, you need to get people who truly understand the goals and the objectives of the training, who truly understand what the protocols should be about. But as there are many stakeholders, and the team needs to be assembled very, very fast on a short notice, it's not easy. For instance, if you talk to a college and you ask them, who is in charge of the assessments for your economics course? And the person in charge may be on vacation at that very point, but we cannot wait. So either the person needs to be summoned to join the team quickly, even though that's not what he or she planned, or an alternative needs to be found, another person who is equally expert with the processes. So yes, at times it felt like making apple juice out of oranges. Many of the courses and modules were not designed with potential for the online delivery, and likewise, many of the administrative processes have been structured around the traditional delivery environment. And we had to do something about it. We had to establish ways to make courses, make training programs which are supposed to be classroom-based, online. How exciting. And of course, again, as I mentioned earlier in the talk, without compromising the quality. So whatever the learning outcomes are in traditional classroom, we had to deliver. And because we're still running those programs, we're still doing consulting in this field, we still have to deliver in the online environment, in the virtual world. So obviously the new projects are harder to plan for and harder to manage as opposed to the online transition projects we were doing before the pandemics. So now comes the important part. Some of the lessons to be learned. Some of the lessons that are learned the hard way along the road to the online transition. First of all, we do need to expand the risk mitigation plans because the risks involved in such ad hoc transition from traditional to online environment are significantly greater to the ones we experienced before. Secondly, prioritizing user-centered approaches. We really need to do the transition around the users because they need to be there to sum up their requirements and to provide guidance to us as we go. Then, no matter how short the notice is for us to do the transition, do our level best to be able to pre-release testing for all the protocols. All the e-learning protocols need to be testing prior to release where possible. If not fully tested, then at least tested to some extent. Then involving e-learning developers into the initial protocol design process teams. Maybe this is another thing we need to consider because we're now living in the brave new world. And even though pandemics will hopefully eventually get over, we need to understand that there won't be probably a complete return to the traditional environment. So many learners maybe are now going to view online courses as the courses to undertake. They'll get used to the online environment, and even if classroom environment comes back fully, they may decide that